I've always been fascinated by cave diving. There's something about the complete isolation, the darkness swallowing everything but the beam of your flashlight, and the eerie silence that makes you hyper aware of every movement, every breath. But after what happened to me last year in a remote cave system in northern Florida, I don't think I'll ever dive again. It started as a routine dive with my friend Mark. He's an experienced diver, and we'd both spent years exploring underwater caves. This particular cave, known as Devil's Tomb, had a reputation. It was remote, deep in the swamp, and rarely visited. Only a handful of people had mapped parts of it, and even then, they'd reported strange occurrences, lights flickering, odd currents, a disorienting sense of being watched. We brushed it off as superstition. We entered the cave early in the morning, carefully making our way through the narrow entrance tunnel. The visibility was decent, and we followed the guideline deeper inside, taking care to avoid stirring up silt. Everything was going smoothly until we reached a large chamber known as the cathedral. That's when things started to feel wrong. The first thing I noticed was the temperature drop. It was subtle at first, just a slight chill creeping into my wetsuit. Then my flashlight flickered. I tapped it, assuming it was a loose connection, but then Mark's light did the same. We exchanged uneasy glances and signaled to turn back, but before we could move, something shifted in the water around us. A current. But there shouldn't have been one. We were deep inside the cave system, far beyond any natural movement of water. It was strong enough that I had to grip the rock wall to keep from being pulled deeper. Mark grabbed the guideline, but his eyes went wide with something I can only describe as raw terror. Then his light died. Panic surged through me. I swung my flashlight around, trying to find him, but the water was suddenly thick with disturbed silt. I reached out blindly, feeling nothing but cold stone. I followed the guideline, praying Mark was still holding on somewhere ahead. But then I felt something else. Fingers. At least, that's what they felt like. Cold, slick, wrapping around my wrist. I yanked my arm back and kicked off the wall, desperately trying to escape whatever was down there with us. My breathing was too fast, and I knew I was burning through my air. I forced myself to slow down, regain control. Then the silt started to settle. Mark was gone. The guideline was intact, undisturbed, no sign of a struggle, no bubbles, nothing. Just silence and the beam of my flashlight cutting through the murky water. I searched for him until my air ran low, until I had no choice but to turn back. The rescue teams found nothing, not a single trace. No body, no gear, no explanation. People say he must have panicked, lost the line, gotten lost in a silt out. But I know better. Something was down there with us. And whatever it was, it took Mark. I never went back to Devil's Tomb, and I never will.